Hey everybody, this is Kurt coming to you from Casa Quarantine. I thought I'd share this video with you and show you all how to make my favorite food, rouladen. It's a German dish I've loved since I was a kid. Now I'm going to stay out of this video for the most part because my quarantine haircut looks like a cross between Mo Howard and Bill Gates. Some things you need to know about rouladen. The stuffed meat rolls take several hours to cook. You've got to be patient, but it's worth it. Rouladen makes the world's best gravy. It goes great with rice or mashed potatoes, but to get the full experience, you really should serve it with homemade German noodles. The first ingredient you'll need is bacon. Everyone loves bacon, and I like to cook it slowly so it doesn't curl up as much, and because there are lots of other things to do while it's cooking. You also need strips of thinly sliced beef. My grocery store sells beef top round steak and calls the cut Milanesa. This cut works perfectly, so stock up if you can find it. After that, you need pickles, an onion, mustard, beef broth, beef bouillon, and seasoned salt. You can get a lot of variety by changing up the type of pickles and mustard you use, but I just use common dill pickles and yellow mustard. You'll also need some kitchen twine tied into loops. Some people use toothpicks or skewers to hold the rouladen together, but I think twine works better. While your bacon is still sizzling, go ahead and slice your pickles and onions. Depending on the size, I usually use one pickle and a couple of onion slices per roll. Once that's done, you can tenderize your meat. It's probably not necessary considering how long the rouladen will simmer, but it won't hurt anything, and I find a certain amount of recreational value in smashing raw meat with a rubber hammer. It also jiggles my iPhone mount. After that, smear a little mustard on the meat, then add some slices of bacon. Some recipes say to use a raw piece of bacon here, but I like to cook it first for reasons that will become apparent in just a minute. Then add your pickles and onions and roll the whole thing up good and tight. Some people like to dice the pickles and onion. I prefer to leave them in big slices. Once the meat is rolled up, use your kitchen twine to hold the roll together. That's a plate full of happiness right there. It's important to save your bacon grease in the skillet. Get it good and hot, and then put your meat rolls in the skillet to brown. This is why I prefer to use twine instead of toothpicks. You can turn the meat any way you want, and you won't scratch up your pan. Now I like to sear the meat hard. It's going to simmer for several hours before it's done, so there's not really any chance you're going to make it turn out tough or dry. And getting the meat properly browned gives you a much darker and richer gravy. Here's how you want them to look, nice and brown on all sides. And once that's done, I'll pour some beef broth into the skillet, then use a wooden spoon to dislodge any bits of meat that are stuck to the bottom. Chefs call that deglazing, and the extra step really makes the gravy better. Then I'll add a bouillon cube and a little bit of seasoned salt. Since I actually have 2 skillets going today, I used 3 cans of beef broth, 2 bouillon cubes, and a few extra sprinkles of seasoned salt. After a minute or two, I deglazed the second pan, then moved everything over to my big skillet. Now comes the hard part, being patient. I let my rouladen simmer on low heat 3 hours or more. Every once in a while, I'll add a quarter cup of flour dissolved in a coffee mug full of water. Hook 'em, y'all! Now that extra water will replace some of the liquid that cooks off, and the flour helps thicken up your gravy. Now there are lots of ways to do the slow cooking. Some people like to put the rouladen in a covered pot and put it in the oven. It's also okay to move everything into a crock pot set to low heat and just let it sit for several hours. I leave mine on the stovetop just out of habit. That's how I've always made it. And that's it. Once you let the rouladen simmer, all you've got to do is serve it over your noodles and it's time to eat.